constructed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professionals before making important investment decisions. Now, it's Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Good morning. You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's, where we keep our ears and eyes open to bring you the latest relevant information for you, your family, and your business and your bank account. Good morning. I am Emma Folks, and I had a very interesting week this week. I was reading an article in Fortune magazine, and I'm going to tell you all a little about it. What I'd like everyone to do is, if you're on the internet, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Financial Renaissance. On Twitter, you can find us at Ems Said It, EMMS Said It. And if you want to take part in our show today, it's going to be a very lively discussion. You can text us or call us at 678-613-5857, and we are streaming live on Facebook at Sensation Station Network. Make sure you hit that like button. My producer needs to know that people like me. So, as I was saying, I was reading the article in Fortune magazine about the shrinking middle class and the current state of affairs. And then I was also looking at what was trending on Twitter this week, and it had to do with the new tax law, the new tax code that was passed in 2017. And you know, what I gauged from it was a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are hurting right now. And it just really doesn't make sense. If you work hard, you have a full-time job, and you're raising kids, there's no reason why you should have to have a part-time job in order to pay rent or buy food or pay for your medication. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I know some people are wondering, wow, how did my grandparents make it happen? How did my grandfather support his wife who stayed at home and 4 kids or 6 kids or what have you on one income without an education? So we're going to look and see whether or not today we're doing better than we did back in the 1950s. So as I started looking up some economic data about the shrinking middle class, and the numbers were absolutely alarming, okay? Absolutely alarming. So right now, I was looking at the bottom 90% of our country. Bottom 90% of our country, since 1979, our incomes have only, the average workers' incomes have only gone up 22%. The top 10%, since 1979, their incomes have gone up 157%. So we're going to be talking about this, and we're definitely going to want people to understand why things feel a little bit tighter today. When we come back, we are going to have Dr. Dionne Bates. She's going to talk to us a little bit about the stresses of having mental health stresses because of low incomes. So stay tuned.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids, but we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Already coaching? Everybody's a coach these days. I get it. Life coach, relationship coach, financial coach. But you want to be a coach with integrity. So get certified and do it the right way. Or add coaching to the work that you already do. Join a cohort or take classes at your own pace. We have knowledgeable instructors. We have a life-changing curriculum. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com to learn more.
Are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's. On the show today, we're discussing the shrinking middle class and the crippling of low-wage workers. I was reading in Fortune magazine, they had a story about just the shrinking middle class and just things that people are going through. And when I tell you, I'm not a crier, I'm not a person that gets caught up. I don't cry at chick flicks. I don't usually get very emotional. But after reading some of the stories from hardworking Americans, it really got me to thinking that this is more of an issue. And with what I do day to day, I've been noticing that my clients, their incomes aren't going up as much as they used to, and their bonuses don't look like they used to. People used to get bonuses, $30,000, $50,000, things that really made a difference. You could pay your kids' education with a bonus, and we are going from $30,000 down to $3,000, $2,000, after taxes, $400, things like that. And so I really started wondering what is going on? How is it that during the recession, the top 1% made off like a bandit, and the middle class still has not recovered? So I started reading this article, and they've got stories from, different people around the country. One of the stories is from a teacher in Louisville, I think they call it. And one of the things that they said that is he feels that the goalposts for surviving in our country or being middle class or achieving that American dream, the goalposts, they keep moving it. He says that he feels that we used to be a country of opportunity. Now we're a country of hope, and hope seems to be the tax that they keep raising. People don't want to be poor, right? No one wants to be poor. No one wants to have to go on government assistance for aid. There are some people, but the majority of Americans don't feel like that. And, if for poverty, for people who are working hard, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, your kids, and explain to them why they can't get something, and you are working every day. It's been a struggle. Some of the workers also are looking at organizing or becoming a union, but they can't organize without the risk of getting fired. As soon as they start talking about organizing, it seems like there's an issue with somebody telling and that person being let go. But I want to go into the numbers a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at the percentages. Okay, so since 1979, the bottom 90% of Americans, their income has only gone up 22%. The next 10%, their incomes went up 157%. That's amazing. So with the 22% increase for the bottom 90 is not even keeping up with inflation. Not only is it not keeping up with inflation, it's not keeping up with the rising costs of healthcare. So inflation, for those of you that, whether you know or don't know, inflation averages about 3%. So every year the cost of milk should The cost for gasoline should go up. The cost for everything that we do goes up. The cost for healthcare and higher education goes up somewhere between 5 to 6% on average every year. So those are some of the things to think about when we're trying to figure out why is it that, our parents or grandparents were able to work overtime and do different things to get us through school, and we're having to take out student loans to help our kids get through school. So things are, they are as bad as we think they are. The other thing I wanted to look that kind of caught my attention was I'm always talking about unions and what happened with unions and pensions, because our parents and grandparents worked a job. A lot of them stayed on that same job for 20 or 30 years, and the companies had the onus of taking care of the employee. And something happened along the lines where unions became something really, really bad. And certain politicians did what they had to do, but unions became, like persona non grata in our country. And when I'm looking at the charts, what I'm seeing is unions got their start in the 1930s during the Great Depression. And when unions came about, the rise in the American workers' income went up when unions came about. Unions were there to protect the employees, and I'm not a pro-union person by any stretch of the imagination, but unions were there to help negotiate wage increases, health care, some other things, a lot of the things that we're literally crying about now. And from the 1930s to about the 1980s, U.S. workers' wages went up. And then as they started dismantling the unions, the employees, the average American workers' wages have become stagnant, if not gone down, when we look at it in comparison to prior years. So that was one of the things that really, really, just struck with me, is like, wow, that's definitely something we're going to have to look into. So next up, we're going to have Dr. Dionne Bates. She's going to talk to us a little bit about what the impact of low wages is doing on our mental health.
You use Tearless baby shampoo because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bathwater to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home walk restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet. Fingerling. Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. next year. I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ. And He'd guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
You want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then, because tonight we're gonna have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia. Jerk Palace.
Our freedom and security are made possible through the service and sacrifice of our military and first responders. The Gary Sinise Foundation provides many outreach programs supporting these brave men and women. Join us. Donate at GarySiniseFoundation.org.
Already coaching? Everybody's a coach these days. I get it. Life coach, relationship coach, financial coach. But you want to be a coach with integrity. So get certified and do it the right way. Or add coaching to the work that you already do. Join a cohort or take classes at your own pace. We have knowledgeable instructors. We have a life-changing curriculum. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com to learn more.
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's, a safe space to have a spirited debate about all things financial, and it's not going to leave you feeling beat up and yucky after. On today's show, we're talking about the American dream. Is it time to rethink or revisit what the American dream is? We have a special guest today, Dr. Dionne Bates. She's a licensed professional counselor, and she's going to discuss with us the wage impact and our mental health.
Hi, we are here with Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am Dr. Dionne Bates, and today I am going to be talking with Emma about the American Dream Revisited and how the financial crisis can have an impact on one's mental and emotional well-being.
And you can text us to take part of this conversation. Please text us at 678-613-5857. Let us know your thoughts on the American dream. How are you feeling? If you're a W-2 employee, how are you feeling about your wages? Coming up, we'll talk about...
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm place on a cold day. I want to be a football stadium. I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
You want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then, because tonight we're gonna have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia. Jerk Palace.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Gotta get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, talk, touch their hair. Details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones we carry with us every day. Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
Sensation Station Network. SSNATL.com.
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am your host, Emma Folks, and we are so pleased today to have Dr. Dionne Bates. She is a licensed professional counselor. Good morning, Dionne.
Good morning, Emma.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good,
Thank you for having me this morning.
I'm ecstatic about having you this morning. On the show today, we are discussing the shrinking middle class, the crippling of low-wage workers, and the American dream. Why are so many of us living a financial nightmare? Yeah, so I called Dionne. I was, doing my research. I was looking at teachers' pay, actually. One of the things I told my son when he was going to college is, as he was choosing a major, I said, you can choose anything except being a teacher and being, doing basket weaving or dance or something like that, right? And, there were a lot of people that were upset at me about telling him not to be a teacher, but now I have the facts as to why. Teachers are paid less than everybody else. Here's a chart of teachers' pay, and you see it's going down.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
These are the people that are responsible for educating our children. All right, educating little American boys and girls, and they have the absolute worst pay in the country. And a lot of lobbyists and politicians, they complain about increasing the minimum wage, right? Oh no, we don't want to increase the minimum wage. But then when people have to go on support, whether it's welfare or food stamps, they then tell them to get off the government teat.
Right.
You can't have it both ways. So,
Right.
Let's talk. I can talk about it from the stance of what I see. What is it that you're seeing?
Well, when I look at that, the diagram that you just showed, it's very discouraging. I come from a family full of teachers. My dad taught, my great-grandmother taught, and I think that when I think about education, there's something about, there's a passion, I think, that goes with people who decide to go into education. There's a passion to try to educate our young people, and in some ways, I guess, to kind of free our young people in terms of giving them that education and helping them to know things that perhaps they may not necessarily get. But, I think that when it comes to especially mental health and teachers, there's a lot to be said about that. Like you said, teachers are paid very little. They deal with a lot in the classroom, oftentimes without the type of financial and or emotional support that they need.
I would think even training. I remember when my son was in middle school, walking in and like surprising him and sitting in on one of his classes, and I was thinking these people are not equipped to deal with some of the things that they're dealing with. So on top of misbehaving children, on top of that, then they have to use their resources, which again, they're one of the lowest paid people in our country, educated people.
Yeah.
Okay, people with a degree, they're the lowest paid.
With advanced degrees.
With advanced degrees, and they still have to come out of pocket. and buy certain things. So, it was just very, very painful for me. And, again, no disrespect to teachers. I'm on your side. It was just very startling to me. And I start wondering about that ripple effect. And still to come, we're going to talk about the mental health issues with our pay. So thank you so much for being here this morning. Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Already coaching? Everybody's a coach these days. I get it. Life coach, relationship coach, financial coach. But you want to be a coach with integrity. So get certified and do it the right way. Or add coaching to the work that you already do. Join a cohort or take classes at your own pace. We have knowledgeable instructors. We have a life-changing curriculum. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com to learn more.
Okay, so 5 tacos of cheese and a large soda, that's $10,012. Please drive around.
Wait, 10,000 what?
It's obvious you're buzzed and driving.
I've only had a few. I'm fine.
Yeah, the food's $12, but getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Text us with your shout-outs and requests to 678-613-5857. Radio
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am your host, Emma Folks, and Financial Renaissance with the M's is where we dissect all things financial, tax law, consumer protection, financial literacy, even pop culture. And today's show, we're talking about the American dream. Is it all a dream, or is it a nightmare? And we have with us our guest, Dr. Dionne Bates, and Dr. Dionne Bates is going to talk to us about the mental health impacts of not earning as much as we think we should.
Yeah. When it comes to earning, I think oftentimes when we decide on what career we're going to take, we go in to some degree kind of knowing what to expect when it comes down to finances and how much money we can make. When I used to be at Georgia Southern, I used to tell all my students, go to career development, because over there they can talk to you about any kind of career you want to go into and how much you would make in that career. So go over there before you actually choose a major. But when it comes to, and I want to circle back around to what we were talking about previously with regards to teachers, there's a lot that goes into teaching outside of becoming educated to teach the children. It's kind of like you said before, teachers are required oftentimes to go into their own pocket to pay for resources that they need for their classes. Oftentimes they are required to do parenting, they're required to be therapists, they're required to be doctors, they're required to be babysitters, required to do a lot outside of teaching. So when you add all of those things into what they are to just teach, and they're already being paid very little, it can start to weigh on a person, especially emotionally and financially. I think that sometimes with our teachers, when you look at the amount of money that, not only the amount of money that they make, but the amount of money that they're having to put out, plus feeling as if they're not really supported emotionally, it can take a toll on them.
Or professionally.
Because
a lot of times they do have issues and they're told to just deal with it, right?
Right. And especially if said, just trying to survive. And when you're in the mind of trying to survive, you're really able to think about those things that really take you above the level.
Yes. I see people who are in that survival mode. When somebody's thinking about day to day, it is very difficult for them to plan for the future or even think about the future because they're worried about their light bill, or if they had something, for instance, and goes into caregiving, there are a lot of people who are going to be responsible for their parents.
Right.
If you're on very low income, and then you also have to provide care for your parents,
right.
This very, I see it as just making people feel buried and overwhelmed because they don't have the finances.
Things, and even from my standpoint, I was very disillusioned when I left college. I was supposed to go to law school right afterwards, and I decided not to. But not doing that, I was very disillusioned after leaving college and trying to get a job, realizing that having a bachelor's degree was not going to help me get the job that I thought college prepared me to get. And so I don't mind saying that my first job out of college, I was working for probably about $5 an hour, living here in Atlanta. So that was very disheartening for me. It was in some ways embarrassing because, again, you go to college to get a really great job. In some ways, it was very frustrating, and I think that there were probably some angry tones there. Especially when I had people saying, well, maybe you need to go back to school. Okay, well, I just went to school and you told me getting this degree was going to get me this really great job, and this is not what it's doing. And so imagine being a person who has gone to school, not only getting, a degree, but getting advanced degrees. And there are a lot of people who have advanced degrees, and they are having difficulty making ends meet. And so what happens with some people is that, depressive symptoms start to set in. There is the fact of feeling embarrassed about the fact that you're not able to make ends meet, feeling frustrated over the fact that for many people who have these student loans, they can't even afford to pay these student loans. And so when they think about this debt that they have and this low-paying job that they have, it becomes a snowball effect where, the frustration level goes up. And it can really start impacting how a person sees themselves, their self-esteem, how even they see, their value, even with the that they're doing.
Let me ask you this. Do you know what the federal minimum wage is?
I do not.
All right. When we come back, we are going to talk about the federal minimum wage and when was the last time they increased it. You're listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's. We're talking about the American dream. Is it time to rethink this?
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe well.
From INN.com.
We but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my season, I was next in Colts are never going to win one. Did wonder why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would. But I determined that I had to have Christ first and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And it was a wonderful feeling. Everything I made, I'm going to I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, talk, touch their hair. Details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones we carry with us every day. Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman, the Ad Council.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you will feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Make sure to tell your friends how to reach us. You will be amazed at Sensation Station Network.
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am Emma Folks, and I have Emmanuel Glaze, the MNM. We are in the house. We are discussing this morning an important topic, the American dream. Why are so many of us frustrated? And shout out to Roxanne Kali. She texted us to tell us that this was an important topic. Before the break, I asked you a question, Dr. Bates. I asked you if you knew what the federal minimum wage is.
I do not.
The federal minimum wage is $7 and I believe 75 cents.
Wow.
Something along those lines, yes. And the last time the last time the federal minimum wage had been increased was in the year 2009. So in 10 years, the federal minimum wage has not gone up.
So remember that 5 job I told you I was working?
Yeah.
That was back in 1992.
Okay.
So the federal minimum wage has only gone up by a couple of dollars.
Correct. And it has not kept up with inflation, obviously,
No.
right? So when we talk about people's frustrations, college isn't for everyone, right? Everyone doesn't have to go to college. Some people have trades, what have you. But if you graduate from school, you get married, you have a kid, on $775, you cannot support yourself and your family. It's impossible. You have to have 2 or 3 jobs. But how do you a parent that has 2 or 3 jobs to be a good parent to their kids? So you can't have it both ways, in my opinion. Our society demonizes people for not making enough money, but they don't want to pay people enough money. And then the society is upset when these kids are out here robbing and stealing. Because that's when I see stuff happening, the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, who's your parent? Because I want to bust your parent in the face for you being out in the streets. But in some cases, it's not the parent. If the parent's not there because they're trying to, keep food on the table, keep the lights on, then there's all these other people that influence. So we need parents. Yeah, we need parents to be at home after school taking care of their kids. One of the things that I was going to bring up was the new tax law. Right? There was an American conservative tax advocacy group called Americans for Tax Reform. And before the new tax law changed, they said that 90% of workers should have a higher take-home pay as a result of the tax cuts. The White House in October of 2017 said that every worker, every household on average should get about an extra $4,000. I've been looking on Twitter, and that does not seem to be the case. As a matter of fact, the IRS has come out and said that since people have been early filing, people are bringing in 8% less than they normally have on their refunds.
Wow.
And some people that typically get thousands of dollars in refunds are only getting hundreds of dollars, or they're owing. Wow. So you're going to get a lot of calls. Because there are people that used to use their tax return, tax refund to pay down debt or to fund their savings. What does a person, an adult with a family, how do they deal with the stress of doing everything they're supposed to do and it's still not being enough, or not even being respected in our society? Because if we're in our society, if you don't have money, we look down on you.
Right. And I think that there are a lot of dynamics to that. Are we talking about someone who is married or partnered? Are we talking about someone who lives alone and is raising children on their own? Obviously, if there's more than one income coming into the home, you're going to be better off. But certainly there needs to be conversation about finances and how you're utilizing those finances to run your household.
And stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to jump right into that. Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Major key alert, life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you can license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. The National Traffic Safety Administration, the Ad Council.
No word in English is less convincing than probably. Are you sure? I can.
Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here. Probably. Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I did the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's, and we have a hot topic. Our social media is blowing up. We are talking about the American dream. Is it time to revisit it? Before the break, we were talking about...
Before we get there, let me make sure. If y'all got questions, you want to talk to us, go to call us at 678-613-5857. That's 678-613-5817. Talk to us. Facebook, Twitter, IG, Financial Renaissance with the M's. Even if you listen to the show or you're seeing the show right now on the Sensation Station Network Facebook Live page, comment there. Somebody around here, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. There's enough of us in the room.
So Emma, keep going with what you're going with. I think today people really want to know, because this is the discrepancy in money, the American dream. I think it's a great topic. So y'all are here driving it. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. I know. We talked a little. We talked in the beginning of the show a lot about people with a college degree. Mm-hmm. But let's go to some statistics. In 2018. The numbers of people with a college degree between the ages of 18 and 64 is only 31%. There's a lot of people in the country without a degree. Okay, and if you don't have a degree, making a decent income. Back in the day, people, we had the GM people, we had the car people, we had people who make a decent living and send their kids to school. Take them up and out. Without a college degree, it's not like that anymore.
I wonder though, with those stats, how much
in a call center. So I answer calls to tell you about your phone bill.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way, and that's in 96, 95.
Right.
And it still goes the way what y'all are talking about right now, that just because you go to school don't mean you're going to get that job that you thought you was going to get coming out.
And I think too, and I think back to when my parents went to school, I heard you say something earlier when you first came on, how, for many of our parents, they went into a job for 20, 30 years. And I think saying my father, and I came from a family of teachers, during that time to go into teaching, it meant security. It meant that, okay, I might not be paid a lot of money, but I'm going to have a pension, I'm going to have paid days off, I'm going to have sick leave, I'm going to have all of these things that for some people outweighed the amount of money that they were making. Are opportunities for young people. Young people are seeing that, again, just advantage, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to come out and make the money that they want to make.
Right.
And it can be very disheartening when you go to school, you come, you're not able to earn the amount of money that you thought that is going to help you earn.
Yeah, one of the things I do with my family when we go places, like, we're not getting customer service, or we just feel like we're being less than. One of the I'll tell my wife, you've probably been down there, or I'll tell my son is how much money that makes. You don't know how many hours they've had to work.
Right.
Like we're blessed, because of the careers that we have, and we have flexibility. But when you don't have that flexibility and you're tired, or you can't take your baby to the doctor because your supervisor told you not to, you're going to get a different level of service from people.
Right.
And I really, really struggle to always remember that, not to take it personal, because I don't know how I would be if I were in that, in a similar situation.
I heard another financial advisor say that the purpose of money is for people to feel secure. And, when you think about, going to work every day and you come home and you look at your paycheck and you're still fearful that you're not going to be able to pay this bill or pay that bill, or be able to send your kid to after school, or even be able to put food on the table, it's like, well, what am I working for? What am I earning money for? Because I don't feel secure.
Yeah, and it makes you kind of want to live off the grid,
That's why when you talked about the tax code, the new tax code, and people not getting the taxes that they thought they would get, for people making these minimum wages or these jobs, that refund is what they kind of look for to help them in situations. So now with these new tax codes, or the Trump codes, or the Trump tax code they're talking about, I'm not getting as much as I used to get. So now the thing I kind of could count on,
right,
working these multiple minimum wage jobs, I can't even count on that no more.
Yeah, and so one of the things that they are looking at, and it's being introduced in different parts of the country, is actually raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And that's still not enough, right? But if they increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, they're going to look at doing it over time, but it's at least a start. And we have to have that conversation. As a business owner, I've heard other business owners complain about paying people $15 an hour. Oh, you don't need $15 an hour to flip a burger, or you don't need $15 to answer the phone. And I say, as a business owner, if you can't afford to pay someone $15 an hour, maybe you should reevaluate how much you're paying yourself, or whether or not you need to hire someone. We cannot pay people less than their worth. A person should have one job and be able to raise their kids and live safely.
People should not be indentured servants.
I remember in the 90s, did you remember, you said $5 an hour? That was close to minimum wage then. So in 2008 or
2009.
we just get to $7.75?
Right. $7.75,
we didn't
because
even double.
We didn't even double.
Right.
And the funny thing is, with minimum wage, the amount that people are going to need to be making by 2024 is like $18 an hour, 20, depending on where you live. And it's not a coastal elite issue. We're talking about middle America as well. Middle America, whether you're in Iowa or Arkansas or wherever you are, if you're a single person, not even with kids, you're going to need to make about $17 an hour in order to keep up with inflation. So there are a lot of conversations that we need to have with our politicians. There are a lot of conversations that we need to have with CEOs and boards of directors about pay. But I do have a cool story.
Okay.
It's not all doom and gloom. So this is the tale of two cities. Okay, two cities. One is going to be Minnesota, and the other one is going to be Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, was led by Governor Scott Walker, who I think looks like that little boy from Deliverance with the banjo. He looks like that little boy grown up. No offense, but offense. So what happened is no offense, but be offended. The state of Minnesota, they increased their minimum wage. And what has happened is, by increasing, they're a more progressive state. By doing that, median wages for men went up by 1.6%. In Wisconsin, it went down, and Wisconsin is a conservative state. Okay, so this is not a political thing, but this is just facts. Two cities. So looking at median wages for women went up 5.4%.
Wow.
In Wisconsin, didn't even go up 1%. Median household income up by 7.2%. Wages at the 20 percentile, top 20, went up 9%, and for the top 10, it went up 8%. So total employment up 11%. So when people make more, they're able to contribute more into the community. They're able to spend more. They're able to do more. They're able to utilize that money and become consumers.
And they're more motivated to do that too.
Correct. If you know, everybody needs a carrot. If I work hard, and I can do things with my kids and take my kids to Disneyland or the movies, or as a parent, you want to be able to do stuff for your kids. And the way the minimum wage is, you can't. You really can't.
You talked about the fast food industry, about going in, what type of customer service. I'm not going to name the two, but there's one that you always get great customer service at, and there's one where you're going to get
They're
crappy.
off on Sundays, though.
Yeah, but they're off on Sundays.
They're off.
If I'm not mistaken, the starting pay is a little higher for them as well. I don't have the numbers in front of me than the place that doesn't have the same thing. And it's just mindset, the way you're doing about it. Let me ask you this. For us out here who don't know, tell them about, you said minimum wage hasn't increased, but inflation has increased.
Inflation increases at about 3% annually per year. And then they do little things to hide it. It's like the gay uncle in the closet. They try to closet inflation, but it's there, right? And then we also have the rising costs of healthcare. Healthcare goes up about 6% annually.
So that's...
And education.
Yeah.
Okay, you're trying to keep those babies in school. The cost of education goes up 6% on average every year.
Wow.
So when you think about a person who's maybe making minimum wage and they're having to work 2 before jobs to try to make ends meet, you also have to think about what that might be doing to them physically in terms of their overall health. Yep. And if their health is breaking down, that's another bill.
Well, on the way, when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about, we're going to jump back into that, but we're also going to talk about CEO pay and the disparity between what CEOs are getting paid and what the average worker is getting paid. When we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's.
And more seductive than
You can't say that.
I can say this. An awesome mix of urban hits.
Ooh, that is awesome.
SSNATL.com.
You use Tearless Baby Shampoo because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bath water to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet, fingerling, Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text...
Y'all see me doing Monday through Wednesday. This is my passion.
That's bold, dude.
What?
That's bold. You know it's 40 degrees outside, right?
I do it all the time. Then if it get real cold, I got to go on to the side. I'm gonna cry. What?
I'll come in the second hour.
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am your co-host, Emma Folks, and we've got Emmanuel Glaze. Hey, Emmanuel. Hi. That's because he wears Crocs. When you wear Crocs in 40-degree weather, your voice goes up. With no socks. With no socks.
I got sweatpants on.
Yeah, we are talking today about minimum wage. So we're also going to be jumping into CEO pay and whether or not that's the reason for income inequality. And we have the great Dr. Dionne Bates. She's here with us this morning.
I'm all interrogating her after the show.
Yes.
First of all, y'all have been doing great today. I love this topic, Emma, about the American dream. Is it still achievable? I mean, I don't know sometimes. I wonder. But then I get to see Emma, then I see how she flashed, and then I'm like, yeah, we still get it.
I also work for myself.
Yes, you do.
And there's a reason that I work for myself.
Yeah.
I decided a long time ago that no one would be or have the ability to tell me how much I can make. No ceiling for the kid. No ceiling for the kid.
And she got Donna too. So.
And I have a Donna. That's right. when you work for yourself, you can get a Donna. So let's jump into, I was talking about CEO pay, right? Mm-hmm. And let's see, from the 1950s, the average CEO pay has grown by 1,000%.
Wow. Are you serious?
Okay. So remember earlier I was talking about unions and the responsibility for unions. What unions did, again, not a big proponent of unions, but what unions did was unions kept things in balance, right? So right now, a CEO last year, 2018, CEO pay at an average S&P 500 firm was 361 times more than the average rank and file employee, or in terms of money, real dollars, we're talking $13 million a year more. Let that sink in, okay? So when we look at what's going on, there is definitely something going on. There's no checks and balances. And again, we're a capitalistic society, and that's fine. But we have to have, like, all of it, we're like an inverted triangle right now. All of the wealth is going to the top. And it's not, I don't believe necessarily in income redistribution or income distribution. Right. You know, if you earn that money, keep that money. Right. But you can't squeeze the people at the bottom. Right. You know, when you squeeze the people at the bottom, that's where we start having, you know, some of those like mental health issues.
A bad toothpaste thing.
Correct.
You squeeze from the bottom and it's getting big up top.
Yeah. So what do you do? And tell us a little bit about your practice.
Sure. So I have a private practice, so I'm like you, I'm in business for myself, and it's called Self Solstice LLC. It's located in Marietta, Georgia, and basically Self Solstice has been around now for full time about 3.5 to 4 years. I moved the practice from South Georgia to Atlanta, and I work with adults, general mental health issues, whether it be stress, depression, anxiety, mood concerns, transitions, LGBT issues, and things of that nature. So just pretty much general mental health concerns.
So how much of the people that you talk with, money is a big part of those concerns?
Probably most of them. Probably most of them.
What about, I see it a lot, during the recession, a lot of people got laid off. And the people that were left at the companies got squeezed to the point where they were doing the job of 2 or 3 people. You know, are you seeing the impact of people who are like overworked and, you know, just stressed out?
Not only overworked, but it's coming out in anxiety. So, you know, they can be at work and may have worked on this job for maybe 10, 12 years, and they excelled at it. They did really, really well. But then when the company downsized and they ended up with 2 or 3 other positions, or the department that they were in, they ended up merging that department with other departments, and so now they're over all of these departments, then it also increased their stress level. It increased the amount of hours that they have to work, which increases, the amount of physical distress put on them. It increases the amount of time that they're away from their families, and so it becomes a snowball effect.
Yeah, I don't understand corporate America, and so again, forgive me for everyone, but I'm gonna have to say what's on my mind. You can't, to me, in my opinion, you can't have someone on call and you're not giving them enough income to pay their medical bills.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no reason, when I'm talking to clients and I'm talking to friends and they've got 2 phones and they've got to answer emails first thing in the morning.
Right.
If I'm not getting an increase of at least 6%, annually, you don't get me on the weekends. You don't, once I leave the building, that phone can stay in the drawer for all I care. You don't get my quality time with my babies or my family.
Well, what happens is a lot for somebody who happens to be in it. You feel kind of like if you don't, you could lose that job. And when you're in a recession or been through a recession, you got a little fear in it.
I think people still have PTSD over the recession.
Exactly.
I really, really do.
And
I really do.
Corporations kind of hold that on you too.
Yeah.
Oh well, you don't want it. Guess what? There's a lot of people.
other people
I
who
think
do
it's
want
I
it.
think it's time for pushback, and when still to come, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the solutions and some of the ways that we can possibly level the playing field. You're listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Sensation Station Network.
Say about that.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
You want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then, because tonight we're gonna have chocolate.
Call Journalists for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia.
Jerk Palace.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 since I ate. Can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay. What to do?
Probably. Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I could really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchool.com. Brought to you by GetSchool, the Ad Council.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you will feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
SSNATM.com. Sensation Station Network.
Financial Renaissance with the M's. You are here with Emma Folks, the MF, and Emmanuel Glaze, the EG.
The MF.
The MF. Listen, this is a great conversation we're having this morning. Go ahead and text us at 678-613-5857. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live at, what is it, Radio? No, at Not Dumbed Down. Or Sensation Station Network is where you
got it.
Yes. Go ahead and put your comments in, and don't forget to like, because
I'm going to put a picture with her with the MF on the
The MF. Listen, we are talking about today the American dream, and is it time to revisit? Is it time to revisit it? And what we're going to be talking about is the rise of the C-suites. Is it responsible for income inequality? And don't you want to ask me what the C-suites is again?
You know, look, there's a story behind this real quick, 5 seconds. Emma said that, and I gave her this blank look, and I was like, huh? So I was like, what is, Emma? MF. What is C-suites?
All right. So C-suites is the executive level of a company. So that's where your chief executive officer sits, your chief financial officer. And in the 70s, there were usually 2 or 3 chiefs of a company. But today you've got a chief technology officer, a chief marketing officer, a chief auditing something or another, and all these chiefs. And these people they've negotiated really nice packages.
Right.
Okay.
And usually when you get up in that, you like CIO, CTO, COO, CEO. That's just amazing because you put that chief in front.
Oh yes.
What do you think? I don't know if you know this number. I always like to test you. What do you think they usually make, or what are their salaries like for those to have that C in the front?
It depends on the company. It could be anywhere from $250 up into the millions. Up into the millions. The thing about them, though, we were talking about people getting fired, is a lot of the C-suite people, especially the CEOs. The average package for a CEO when they get fired, all right, you're not doing a great job. You got to go. Is $48 million to say bye-bye. Wow. Okay, most people don't know enough that when they're getting let go that they should hire a lawyer to look at their contract and to negotiate their exit. Okay? Talk to a lawyer, an employment lawyer, a business lawyer. If you know your job is, doing something a little weird, you want to talk to a lawyer and see if you can negotiate an exit package for yourself. It won't be $48 million, but you should never leave a company if you've given them your time. Like, I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter, and I believe if I do the right thing, if I do right by you, you should do right by me. And I think corporate America, it's time for corporate America to stand up.
I actually had a client who did that. A company let him go, and he didn't take their package. He had a lawyer to look over it, and it took several months for them to settle, but he finally settled with his company. He got much more than his package initially outlined for him to get, and I think that it spoke to how much he valued himself and how much he valued his worth for that company.
Yeah, corporate America grinds you down, right? They just grind you down to the nub, and then they leave you feeling like nothing. And to me, the way to get that back is to just say, hey, I'm not trying to get rich. I'm not trying to get something that I don't deserve, but you will pay me for my time.
I think both of y'all brought up a great point. It's the value of yourself in this whole process. Yeah. We get to the point where we think we got a job. We just are our job, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? And what you just said, get a lawyer.
Get a lawyer.
Just don't take the package aside because it sounds like, oh, I got 6 months paid. No.
Well, but the flip side of that, too, is when you do get a job, and you should have a lawyer look over the contract.
Right.
Well, that's the other thing, about getting a job. Like you said, we think that just because we get a job, we're set. But, a lot of times what we don't realize is that when we go into interviews, they are interviewing us to see if we are a good fit for their company. But oftentimes we don't realize that we're also interviewing them to see if the company is a good fit for us.
You know what I say to that? Because a lot of these think tanks that I look at, you need to look at the board. You need to look at who's in the C-suite. Do people look like you? Will they value you? If you don't see people that look like you or people that don't get upset when things aren't so easy. You already know what you're getting into.
You talk to C-suiters. What do you think the difference in mindset of a C-suiter and a regular, I guess not regular, but a person who just gets a job at the lower level? Their mindset is different than ours.
I don't, how do I say this? there are different people on this earth that are here to do different things, okay? And, I don't like looking at someone that's in the C-suite and say, well, this person is, the way they think and what they do, et cetera, makes them better than a person who is a lower wage earner.
I'm not saying better, but the mindset of they value who they are.
Oh, definitely.
And we should value, or whoever down there
But you're
should value us.
celebrated at that level.
Right.
You're not celebrated down here. When you're not celebrated and you're looked at as being expendable, then how do you have a value or self-worth?
But I think that's what y'all are talking about right now, making sure that you just don't sign a paper just because you're thinking I need to get this job.
Yes.
Value yourself.
Yeah, I think it also kind of depends on the culture of the business, the mentality of the business. There's some companies that you can go into and they value employee worth. They really value their employees. So they're always doing things that try to help their employees to feel valued. So whether it's looking more so at an employee's strengths and setting them up in roles where their strengths will be accentuated, as opposed to looking at their quote unquote growth edges and always harping on those growth edges.
Yeah, some companies, and again, that are very conservative, there's still a lot of people that are still thinking, I call them, business dinosaurs. They're still thinking like in the 50s. Everybody has to wake up and be at work at 8 o'clock and, all of that stuff. And, there are some people who are very outgoing, and usually corporations, grab those people and try to push them up, not realizing that the introverts add to. Everybody has a role, and you have to be able to celebrate and appreciate everyone. Just because they're not a talker or they don't like to network and they don't want to go hang out with you doesn't mean that they're not as valuable.
And I think that speaks into being able to know who you are and being able to appreciate what you bring to the table. I'm an introvert all day long, but I also know that being an introvert, I had to learn to be okay with that, that there are a lot of strengths that I have that my extroverted friends or my extroverted colleagues may not have. And it doesn't make one better or the other. It just means that I know who I am, and being able to use my strengths to work in collaboration with someone else who might be an extrovert and use their strengths so that we can make things be better.
Well, on the way, we're going to talk about the Dodd-Frank Act and how this is going to help with CEO pay versus the regular person's pay on Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
You want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then, because tonight we're gonna have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia.
Jerk Palace.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Get the sensation. Sensation Station Network.
We are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's, and we are with Dr. Dionne Bates and Emmanuel Glaze.
Dr. Bates.
Dr. Bates. And we are Mr. Glaze with the Crocs.
And they're comfortable.
Are your feet ashy?
A little bit. Don't look at them too hard.
Like, how do you wear those shoes? Bad enough.
Oh, the benefits of doing radio.
Yes, if nobody has to see your feet.
That's why I stay on this side right here.
Keep your feet down.
She got, because when I wear,
Well, anyway, leave my shoes alone. So
let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this. What are we about to talk about right now?
We're about to talk about the rise of the C-suites and whether or not it's responsible for income inequality. And whether it is responsible, not responsible, this is just such a complicated, it's such a complicated topic. There's not just one answer. There's many, many answers. And one of the things that I like, there's the Dodd-Frank Act that a lot of conservatives hate. They hate acts, and it was one of the things that came about during the recession to just kind of keep hold on everything so we don't get back into that trouble again. But one of the pieces of the Dodd-Frank Act is that starting this year or last year, CEOs now have to disclose the pay gap between them and the median employees. So we're going to see that disparity between what the CEO makes at the top and what the lowest worker makes at the bottom. And Harvard Business, they did a study, Harvard Business School, and they found that U.S. consumers are willing to pay more for everything, from toilet paper to TVs to, you name it. They're willing to pay more for companies where they know that gap between the CEO pay and the lowest workers' pay is not as high. So America wants this.
Right.
So there are also places, and we'll throw it up on our website or on our social media, of how you can look to see if a company that you want to do business with, whether or not they are doing the right thing by their employees. For me, I don't care what the product is. If you're not treating your employees right, I don't want it.
Right.
Well, I think too, when you start talking about transparency, that adds another layer to the mental health of your employees, because when you can have leadership that is transparent, I think it's a rippling effect throughout the company. You become transparent about salaries, you become transparent about policies, and so everyone is in the know on that, and it makes people feel like, okay, I'm included in this.
Yeah, I just feel like it's an antiquated way of thinking. Like we're in the 21st century now. We just need to evolve, right. and these people need to evolve with us. It's very frustrating for me when I see people, in my day-to-day work, I help people plan for retirement and their kids' education. And, this is annual planning time, and when I ask them if they're getting an increase, and I hear, $1,000, $3,000, and the cost of everything else has gone up by so much, how do you, it's just very, very difficult right now. And so I'm even having conversations with people about rethinking what we're doing as a country. We used to live in the same house with our parents, our grandparents. There'll be 3 generations in a household, and we may need to revisit and start to think about these things. My wife and I talked before about letting our son move out way ahead of time once he graduated from college, and we need to start rethinking these things, because if our parents can't afford their retirement, we're not going to be able to afford to save for our retirement and help our parents and help our kids, pay for college. So there's a whole lot of rethinking that needs to go on.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you talk to your people and you talk to people about this, Emma, what are some of the reaction you're getting? Do you see, is it, and the reason why I'm asking both of you, is it more of a fear now? Is it more of a, we don't know how that day-to-day, it just feels different now. Like when we grew up, we felt that retirement was a great thing to look forward to. Now you're like, retirement Can I retire?
Right.
You know,
People are frustrated because they felt like they were sold a bill of goods. You know, if you have a million, you just need to save $1 million, and if you have $1 million, you know, you're going to be fine. But if we look at $1 million and the rule of thumb, and I don't use this, so I'm not advising this at all, but the rule of thumb is, you know, you take 4% off of a portfolio, and that's what people have to live on. 4% of $1 million is 40,000. And if you have a person that's making $125,000, $150,000 a year, they've saved $1 million, you know, they're going to have to really change their lifestyle.
Drastic.
Okay.
But then to both your points, you know, when you have people who they've worked all their lives and then they're trying to get to retirement, and then they realize that their children still need to be taken care of, or even their grandchildren need to be taken care of, or their parents need to be taken care of. You know, it sometimes means that, okay, maybe I can't retire right now because, you know, I don't know how I'm going to take care of all of this.
Well, we're living longer, so you can work another 5 years.
Well, but for some people, though, I think that, you know, when it comes down to planning how those people are going to be taken care of, there needs to be conversations around that.
Yes, and when we come back, we are going to talk about the 5 things that I saw happening in the country this week financially that I have to get off my chest.
Get it off.
Okay.
Emma knows money.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guides us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids, but we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Everybody successful lays a blueprint out. We laid the blueprint out. I stayed true to my dreams, and by doing that, eventually it came true.
A lot of times, you know, it's like in life, right? Life brings like drama, and you got to deal with this person, and a funky relationship here, and all these things. You try and just kind of balance them out as best I can.
Make a choice, right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do.
Unleash your beast. Write your history. Hey man, we're back. First off, shout out to Miss Wynn who just joined. That says she loves the topic that we're talking about there. Join into the comments, man. Give us your comments. But right now, she's got this knowledge. She's about to drop it on you. It's Emma, the MF. Knows money. Emma knows money. What's going on, Emma?
What's going on? So this week I'm going to do things a little different. I'm going to talk about 5 things that happened this week financially that kind of, got me going a little bit. So the first was Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was in the news again for messing up people's paychecks. So I've got all kinds of comments about it, but I'm not going to say anything. But Wells Fargo, get it together. Get it. Second thing that happened this week that I thought is really important. Democratic Senator from Oregon, Ron Wyden, I believe his name is, he introduced Bill S-420. What do you think that's about? S-420 on Thursday, and it's to federally legalize marijuana. The Marijuana Revenue and Regulation Act. And unless you're suffering from cognitive dissonance, we all know that marijuana should not be on the controlled substance list. People who deal with whether they eat it, drink it, smoke it, whatever you do, people that smoke marijuana do not go out and commit crimes. They laugh, they get hungry, and they get sleepy, I believe, right? Okay. So Michael Cohen, the president's lawyer, he's actually going to do less time than Michael Williams, who got pulled over and had less than an ounce of marijuana on him in 2014.
Wow.
Okay, so it's time for us to change this. So call your representatives at 202-224-3121 and tell them to pass the Marijuana Revenue and Regulation Act. And for us here in Georgia, that could be our greatest export. Okay, the United States, period. That could be that's game-changing for us. So the other thing that happened, the White House again had promised that Americans back in 2017 were going to get a $4,000 raise because of the new tax act. And in fact, that's not the case. And the IRS is stating that tax refunds are going to be about 8% so far, 8% less this year. So you call your representative and ask them about the bottom 90. That's all of us in this room. Bottom 90%. Why is it that we're suffering? Special shout out to the Blackish star. She plays Dionne on Blackish. She scares the crap out of me and makes me so proud that I didn't have a daughter, because I feel like my daughter would be just like that. Her name is Marcia, and I may have it wrong, Martin, and she is the youngest producer ever. And she signed a deal with Universal to do a few movies. So parents, encourage your kids. If they have the little iPhone and they're making iMovies or whatever it is that they're doing, technology has leveled the playing field. Encourage them, teach them, let them take classes. And extra special shout out to Uncle Hove. Got to call him Uncle now because I think he's 50.
Hove.
H-O. One, he helped Lil Wayne out of his tax hole. Lil Wayne had some tax problems. But this week, there's a rapper by the name of 21 Savage, who I did not know was British.
I don't think a lot of us did. But
yeah, I had no idea. And he was detained by immigration last week. And Hove has lent him his legal team to help him out of his situation because he's not a felon. He didn't do anything wrong. He's a dreamer whose parents came here and, like a lot of dreamers, overstayed their welcome. Us as Americans, people that were born here, we have the fortune of being born into this country and, on this land. And if you were not born here, and you were born in another country, you don't know what it's like. We can say whatever we want, we can carry guns, we can do whatever we want, but America is the place, and unfortunately or fortunately, everybody wants to be here. So that's what I have for this week. Emma knows money.
Sensation Station Network. SSNATL.com.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ. And He guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, talk, touch their hair. Details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones we carry with us every day. Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
Well, I think I learned a little something because Emma knows money like nobody else.
She does.
Yeah, sometimes. Anyway, great topic today. Is the American dream still achievable?
Is it viable? Is it a moving target?
Yeah.
I have this quote from, what is this, Fortune magazine. And they said that middle class is like chasing the American dream was once exhilarating. Now it's exhausting.
Wow.
And I thought about that.
Say it again.
Yeah,
Say it again.
Chasing the American dream was once exhilarating. Now it's exhausting.
Is it still realistic?
Is it still realistic? If they increase pay. If they increase pay, I mean.
So in the present, it's not realistic.
In the present, I don't see it being realistic.
I'm just going to ask a question to both of y'all.
We're chasing something that's not realistic.
It's not attainable.
And you
right
probably
now.
said this at the beginning. What is the American dream anymore?
You know, the American dream depends on where you come from. The American dream for most Americans is to, have a house, so that white picket fence, the dog, blah, blah, blah. But the American dream has to evolve, right? And the country is evolving. We're evolving with technology. We're evolving in our complexion. We're evolving in different types of ways, but we need to move forward. We cannot keep the same mentality and expect our country to be the great nation that it once was. We're losing out to a lot of other countries right now.
So it's safe to say we still live in the 1950s American dream.
I feel like it's the 70s. I feel like it's 1970s corporate thought, 1980s corporate thought, and we need to evolve. We need to get past that. We definitely need to get past that.
I think for everything you said today, I think both of y'all have been on it, because even from the way we live in our minimum wage, that needs to evolve. The way we live, because 2 or 3 jobs, it is exhausting just trying to live.
And
2 or
again,
3
think
jobs.
about the people, I don't want to supplement someone's income, the porch pirates, because I order something from Amazon, don't go to my porch to supplement your income, sell my stuff on eBay, so we cannot get upset when there are people out there trying to survive, and their way for surviving is to come after people that they think have means. Yeah, I think it's wrong, but that's just the way society, it's always happened.
Because they become desperate.
Yeah, a desperate time create desperate.
Desperate people are dangerous to
Yeah.
me, and I think our country has to look at history. If history has taught us, nothing, it's when the top gets too fat, the bottom, I don't want to say rebels, but
Goes and get the fat.
yes, they need to stay warm too.
But I just thought about, something you were talking about during the show about the rising cost of health care, the rising cost of daycare, education, all of that. And I'm still trying to maintain this low wages, but you keep increasing everywhere else I go. What am I supposed? Think about it. We grew up, I saw my parents every day. I knew they got off at 5 or 6, and
Right.
you can't say that this moment. Some people get off at 5 trying to go to their next job. That's not going to finish till 1 in the morning.
Some parents get off, they take their kids to whatever activity, they come home and they get back online to work. So a lot of parents are up till 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're getting up at 6. So that's 5 hours of sleep. So people are sleep deprived. They're not making as much. They're sleep deprived. They've got anxiety. They've got stress trying to, juggle multiple things.
And it trickles down through the family because, you have a lot of children, because their parents are working so much, then they start to become responsible for making sure that there's food cooked.
Wow.
And they're responsible for the younger children and making sure that they're doing the things that they need and homework. And so it takes away from these kids from, just their childhood, and it starts to weigh on them, because then they're the ones who are responsible for the household while their parents are out working 2 or 3 jobs.
Wow. We're gonna tweet
It's
that.
it's a lot.
We're gonna tweet that on Twitter. That the American Dream wants us. What was it? Say the phrase?
American Dream Revisited?
No, the phrase you just said.
Oh. Is that what you're pointing at? Chasing
Chasing the American Dream was one time.
Chasing the American Dream was once exhilarating, now exhausting.
I'm gonna tweet that. We're gonna tweet that. We're gonna put that on Twitter.
Go on and put that on. Go on and put that on Twitter.
This is wow.
Physically and emotionally.
That's wow. Go ahead, though. Sorry, I'm just.
Looking at the C-suite, the rise of the C-suite, I think that, and again, I'm not the expert on corporate America, but I feel like human resources, I don't know what their exact position is, but I think I was looking, there's I can't think of the young lady's name, but she's on LinkedIn. She has over 1 million followers on LinkedIn. And she was talking about HR and putting the human back into human resources. And, it kind of struck with me because I always felt when I was in corporate America, I always felt like human resources was like the enemy. You never wanted to get called down to human resources. But they're supposed to be, I think they're supposed to be the advocates for the employees, but it almost feels like they're the advocates for the C-suite and the board of directors. So I think as Americans, we need to do our job, look at the companies. If we're going to do business with a company, just like from a political standpoint, we may not do business with a company because of their stance on, LGBT issues, or their stance on women, or their stance on minorities, or their stance on, fill in the blank. We also need to think about pay. When people are angry and they don't make enough, they look for other people to be upset with. Our country right now is very divisive. A lot of that division has to do with the fact that people are not making enough. Right. There are a lot of angry, Donald Trump got elected. It's not because everyone believed in what he was saying. There are a huge segment of the population that believed he was going to do something about employment in our country. Right. There are a lot of people who thought manufacturing jobs were going to come back. They thought, tax code was going to get fixed. They thought that they would be able to have that American dream, make America great again. It was about the American dream. So still to come, we're going to jump back into the topic of minimum wage and the C-suites.
Minimum.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay. Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad!
Oh, come on! This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station Network.
Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am Emma Folks, and we've got Emmanuel Glaze and Dr. Dr. Dionne Bates in the house with us this morning. And the woman's name that I was mentioning that from LinkedIn, her name is Brigitte Hyacinth. She has 1 million followers on LinkedIn. We had a, LinkedIn, not Twitter, not LinkedIn.
That's crazy.
Right,
Yeah.
LinkedIn. And, as we were talking about the CEO pay, CEO pay is usually goes up in conjunction with productivity. And corporate company productivity has excelled over the last 30 years.
Absolutely.
Okay, what has not excelled is the average worker pay.
Right.
Okay, so we're looking at, again, it's not about income wealth redistribution. Nobody wants what, CEOs have. We don't want what you have, but people need to be able to take their kids on vacation at least once, twice, 3 times a year, get away from the kids, stuff like that. I'm one of those kid runners. I run away from them. And, part of the tax code, Donald Trump had said, people are going to get bonuses and they're going to, really see this in their incomes and yada, yada. And in March of last year, last year, bonuses in 2018 were actually cut. And this comes from Aon, which is a huge insurance broker.
Right.
And they said that companies are planning on cutting their bonuses even more this year. So where is the money? It looks like a lot of corporations, and again, per some of the studies I have, it looks like the corporations, from all the monies that they were able to bring back into the country, they're holding on to it, but it's not going to the employees.
I think people need to understand that corporations aren't losing money.
No.
They just decide how to distribute the money, which means instead of giving these big bonuses out, we're just going to hold on to it a little bit more. And, once they hold on to money, they're going to make more money on it because of other things they're doing with it.
Yeah, and during the Obama administration had come down with a law that said if you were not a manager, then you should not be an exempt employee. Like, you couldn't be salaried.
Right.
So that afforded a lot of people for about a year or two to get overtime if they worked over 40 hours.
Right.
And I believe it was last year, of course, the Trump administration stripped that away. Yeah. But overtime was another way that, instead of getting another job, that was another way for families and parents to make a little extra to pay for, a trip for their kid, or to pay for college, or to pay for different things. Right. Those things have also been stripped away. So we no longer have unions, right? And when unions went away, pensions went away. So funny how that all happened. So unions went away, pensions went away, overtime, double time, time and a half, working on holidays, all of that stuff went away. And that's how a lot of people used to make that extra money to do those things for their family.
Wow, that is a great connection, because you're right. People say I got to work 5 hours. That's time and a half. Once you go over so many hours, that's double time.
So people start asking, well, what am I working for? And
wow.
And for so many people, their job is a part of their identity.
Yes. It is. It's like an athlete. For athletes, the sport that they're involved in is what they do. And when you go to school and you do, again, everything that you were told to do to become successful, and then you look at your bank account and you're living to paycheck. I can't remember the exact statistic, but I believe it's 80% of people who are making up to $150,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck, or are one paycheck away from financial disaster.
Wow. How many percent?
Don't quote me on it. I'll give you the exact number.
As close as you can get, but
I think it's about 80%.
Wow. Yeah. And even if it isn't close to that number, the fact that you over the 50% line is a lot for people making that much. Because you think 150 is, that's a lot of. But
it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money when you have a family of 4. If you live in, the only difference between someone living in the hood and someone living in the burbs is that the person in the burbs has safer housing. They have better schools for their kid, but it doesn't mean that their dollars go any farther.
Exactly. Well, she up here preaching again.
Preaching
last
again.
Week I was told by somebody in my household, she was preaching. Still ain't got over
Thank you, Mrs. Glaze.
I still haven't got over that.
Have you set up your financial meetings?
Yeah.
Have you set up your financial meetings with your wife?
Yeah, my toes. That's why I wearing Crocs, because you cut my toes off last week.
Wow.
Toes were bleeding.
That's right. Hey, but it's important. I mean, and especially with people not making as much. If you're not making as much, you have to track what's coming in and out. You have to track.
And I would love to know the people that you're talking to, too. They're not doing these type of things to help them out, because trying to say that your job is your identity is a huge problem, and just trying to understand that at the end of the day, you got to take care of your home and make sure you're doing the right things there.
Well, when you stop and think about a person who maybe they worked 8 hours a day, but they weren't making ends meet, so then they had to pick up all these other hours. So they're spending most of their time away from home. They're spending most of their time probably with their coworkers. They're spending most of their time with their job. And so when you do that, it becomes a part of who you are.
Wow. And it takes over that identity.
It takes over your identity.
It takes over your identity. So 40, 50, 60 hours a week on the job make you feel like that's who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It literally is a marriage, a bad one at that.
And that's why that
In
quote,
today's world, is definitely a bad marriage.
it's exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, back in, grandparents, they would hate their job, but they stayed there because they had great health care.
Oh, yeah.
They had pensions. They could take care of everything.
I
So
know
who
when
cares?
in 30 years, I'm good. I'm out. Yeah.
They were counting down.
Yeah.
Counting down. I got 2 months and a wake up.
But then the other piece too is, and I hope this isn't too much off topic, because I know we're talking about money, but for a lot of people in jobs, sometimes it's not just the money. Sometimes, yeah, you could pay me more, but if you can't pay me more, how about some other incentives?
Yes.
Flexibility.
Let me work from home.
Right.
Right.
Or even if I have to come into the office, having, wellness hours, allowing me to just, be able to go to the gym or be able to go do something that's going
How about taking a nap?
Girl, yes. Need some.
Yes, taking a nap. Donna always laughs at me. We'll eat a big lunch and I'll say to her, I need 10 minutes.
Shut the door.
Right. Just 10 minutes. Don't talk to me. So, thank you, Dr. Dionne Bates, for being with us and taking part of this very, very important conversation this morning.
It's been fun.
And you are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's, the MF.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
You want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then, because tonight we're gonna have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia. Jerk Palace.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Everybody successful lays a blueprint out. You laid the blueprint out. I stayed true to my dreams. And by doing that, eventually it came true.
A lot of times, it's like in life, right? Life brings like drama, and you got to deal with this person, and then funky relationship here, and all these things. You try and just kind of balance them out as best I can.
Make a choice, right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, The universe is going to get out your way.
Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. Unleash your beast. Write your history.
And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's, Emma Folks and Emmanuel Glaze, and MF, the MF and the EG, MNM. And, you know, today's show was pretty powerful. If you're, please like us, follow us on social media. I need the likes in order for my producer to keep me here. I feel like he keeps threatening me every week. If I don't get enough likes, he's gonna lock the doors. I won't be able to come in. Changing codes and stuff like that. So you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Financial Renaissance. And if you want to text us, you can text us at 678-613-5857.
And what's the Twitter? It's not.
Oh, M's said it. EMMS said it.
There you go. There you go.
M's said it. Yes.
What can they find you at? The Kind Doctor.
Kind Doctor.
They can find me at my website, which is drdbates.com. They can find me on Twitter at Self Solstice. That's SELFSOULSTICE.
Solstice.
And they can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Self Solstice.
Self Solstice. Like it.
Let's say soul.
So here's what I want to leave everyone with this week. All right. So for people who have been at a corporation, and you know, there are some people who have been at companies for 10 years, 15 years, although it's more rare. But a lot of corporations want to get rid of people who have longevity with the company because they want to pay someone else younger and a lot less. So if you are offered a package, that first time the company starts offering packages, one, that's usually going to be the best package, so you want to look at it, but have a lawyer take a look at it. Everything is negotiable, and just because they're offering something to you doesn't mean exactly what you have to take. And if you're negotiating a package, keep it between you, your lawyer, and the employer. Like, if you get something good, be quiet. This is about you and your family. So you keep your packages to yourself. Tell people that you're okay. That's what I would say.
That's beautiful words to be
So
living by.
so today, you know, we talked about a serious topic. We talked about the American dream, whether or not it's time for us to rethink it, revisit it. We talked about minimum wage and what it takes for people to just survive, to pay rent and live in whether you're in the flyover states, they call it middle America, or whether you're a coastal elite, wherever it is that you're living, everybody is having the same struggle right now, and it has to do with pay. The pay of the average American, the bottom 90%, has not kept up with inflation and definitely is not keeping up with health care or the cost of education. So trying to send your babies to universities and colleges, it's outpacing. And then looking at the rise of the C-suites, looking at CEO pay versus the average worker pay, and you know where you can go. We'll throw this up on our social media, where you can go to see where that company that you want to do business with, where do they lie with CEO pay to the average worker pay. You know, what are their ratios? You know, the lower the number, the better.
Wow, that's just eye-opening again. MF. Emma.
It feels like you're cussing me.
That's how you come out there. I just think people really need to. These shows are what we've talked about doing. I mean, people are learning, and that you're not alone. I think that's a big thing people don't understand too. They think it's just them.
You're not the only one.
I think when you said when 150,000 people,
150,000,
one check away from
$150,000
being out on the street. So not on the street, but just
paycheck to paycheck.
You know, people need to hear that.
You're one medical emergency away from being broke.
Wow.
You know, that's what it comes down to. And with this show, one of the things we really wanted to do was help people to stop being a financial bystander.
Right.
You know, a lot of times when things are going on, you feel like you have no say-so, no input. There's nothing for you to do. And, you know, we get mad at a lot of our elected officials a lot, but we never call them and tell them solutions. We call them and yell at them about things that they're doing. But if you have a solution, call your representative, whether it's on the state level or on the federal level. Let them know what they could do to make things easier for you. They want to hear solutions.
That's an amazing thing. So, you know, you all out there, where your offices are located?
My office is located in Marietta at 2470 Windy Hill Road, right off I-75 North.
That's outside of the perimeter?
Why you want to go asking me questions like that?
She just, why you doing her like this? See, she do.
I mean, I just got an address for you.
Yeah. Looking like
2470 Windy Hill Road, Suite 300, Marietta, Georgia, 30067.
And how do they call you?
678-278-2002.
Hey man, make sure y'all stay tuned. This is a sensational Sensation Station Network. Smooth Jazz is coming up next. It's for the no, I'm not gonna do that. For Emma folks, our guest, Dr. Bates. We thank you so much for joining us. This is Financial Renaissance with the M's. Stay tuned. Smooth Jazz. We out of here.
Have a good week.